If we hold ourselves to higher standards, you can manage what you measure. And a lot of people don't like to measure themselves, but measuring yourself and measuring your output is going to make you better at whatever you're doing, whether it's, marketing, sales, or business development.
It's Chase Armory here, and I'm with my man, John Crestani. Me and John met a long time ago, and he's just doing some amazing things. Totally different world than I'm involved with. He's doing a lot of webinars. He's doing a lot of entrepreneurs that want to scale their own brands and their entrepreneurship, take it to the next level, and just love what he's doing with people and how he's making them a lot of money online and changing their lives. So John Crestani, thank you so much for being on the show, brother.
Awesome, dude. It's good to talk to you and hang out as always. And excited to go over things.
Yeah, for sure. So, we have a couple of different aspects of our business. And one of the aspects that we're trying to get into is exactly what you're kind of doing, and doing a lot of webinars. And I think a lot of people would be really interested to know how to actually take a webinar and make a lot of money with it. And actually, even entrepreneurs looking to grow their business and their brands personally, professionally, would be interested to know. And I know that you're kind of at the pinnacle of that game, but how did you get there? Kind of give us a little bit of backstory so people understand who you are.
Sure. So I just want to start with, how I think it's so funny. You say how to make money with webinars. It's sales. If you
Totally.
it's just basic sales. If you can sell a product on the phone or in person, you can sell it more people through a webinar. So how I got started was, frankly, I started a business called an affiliate network, and I started a business called an affiliate network, and I was looking to figure out how to get more people who would both pay me for my knowledge and work with my company. And it was more of a complex sale because I'm looking for people to pay me a lot of money, thousands of dollars. I was selling a product which was $5,000, and it wasn't a product somebody would buy from a simple web page, just showing a web page, and it wasn't a product that somebody would buy from a cold call. It wasn't something where people would enter in their name, phone number, and email address, and if I could call them up, they wouldn't just buy $5,000. But I realized that the combination of using a webinar with phone-based sales just was a deadly combination, because you can use a webinar. I noticed that every time I was on the phone with somebody, I was going over the same things. 90% of what I said on my phone calls every day was the exact same thing.
Right.
And it didn't make sense for me to spend my time that way. I realized this was very inefficient, and I'm running a very lean operation. So what I just thought, because my mind is always thinking of how do I automate this? How do I save time? Because if I save myself time and focus on where I have the most leverage, that 10%, I'm going to make more money. And so what I did was I took the basics of what I always, the 90% of the sale, which I was constantly repeating, and I just put that into a webinar so that anybody could watch this, and it saved me so much time. So now I was 10 times more productive.
Totally.
And with a webinar, I could reach way more people, and it ended up flooding my business with too many customers. Overnight.
One second, John. So you have the webinars, obviously amazing because you can reach a lot more people, and you said you combine that with phone, right? So do you have a set list of people or entrepreneurs that you're trying to contact that want to build something? How are you getting in touch with people? Are you utilizing web funnels specifically, or because you said phone, right? So yeah. Are you guys reaching out to these guys on a cold call basis, or kind of you have a set little piece? How does that work?
Great question. So we're reaching people through online advertising. Okay. Sure. We use a lot of different channels of online advertising. We have ads on Google. We have ads on YouTube at this point. We have ads on Facebook. My ads are seen by millions and millions of people, about 10 million people per month.
Dude.
Right now. About 1 million people per month visit our web pages, and you know, our actual sales presentation, our webinar, is seen by almost 100,000 people every month. So that's allowed my business to scale very nicely.
How often do you change your presentation? Do you keep it pretty similar all the time, or do you change it up?
Great question. So I change it up roughly every 6 months.
Uh-huh.
And for me, the way I decide how I change up my presentation is we're constantly improving the product. So every time we make enough significant product changes or we add on new features, we go back, we go back to the webinar and we'll change it up, as well as we're always trying to make our marketing better. Just like we're always trying to make our, you're constantly trying to make your sales pitch better. So it's a bit of it's not an exact science, but as my business figures out better ways, to reach people and to talk to people and better product to offer people, we'll change up our presentation accordingly.
Now, is the product that you guys are working on, is it essentially being able to how to scale a business and start a business online, or are you constantly changing up the products and doing different things on your webinar?
The premise of what we do is not changing. The overall concept of what we do is my business teaches people how to start commission-only marketing businesses. We teach people how to place little ads online to make, to earn commissions for themselves, selling products. We teach people what's called affiliate marketing. Sure. So that hasn't changed in the last 4 years. But what has changed is I used to just teach people Facebook ads. Got it. But as new things have come about, such as, Snapchat, such as YouTube ads, we constantly are focused on making the product better, and then we will, that's how we decide to update the course. So we're not changing the premise of what we're teaching, right? But we're changing up aspects of the product to better serve the customers.
Now, dude, 10 million YouTube views a month, that's insanity, bro. Like, yeah. How do you do that? I mean, I'm not asking for the secret sauce, sure. But what I'd love to know, because, YouTube's obviously a different channel, but that's pretty freaking impressive. 10 million is insanity. So, like, yeah. How do you get there? Is it just because you have this huge network of people now, or were you always getting that kind of viewership on your YouTubes?
So how we got there was, first we kind of look at what the audience wants to see. Really, we have to cater around our audience, because the people who, how it's a very specific traffic source. YouTube's younger, right. So we have to really appeal to more of a younger crowd. So what appeals to an older crowd for, that's looking to work at home might be, an older crowd might have, health issues, or they might be more involved with family. Whereas the younger crowd, we noticed real quickly that they love flash, they love Lamborghinis, they love helicopters. These are,
everybody uses Lamborghinis in their ads now?
They want. This is what excites them. Yeah. And frankly, that is my life. I love, I don't own a Lamborghini, but I always rent them when I'm going on vacations. And I'll race around with my friends. I got up to 155 miles an hour on the streets of in outside of Vegas.
You went on the track out there in Vegas?
Oh, we weren't even on a track. We were in the desert. We were just in the desert. So it was pretty scary when you're going over the little like center, because we're passing people. You're going 100.
Yeah, totally.
You're passing people, and you go over those bumps, round bumps in the middle, and it's like hitting rocks. It's just like boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm learning to fly helicopters right now. You know, you know, I'm looking to buy a helicopter, frankly, by the end of the year. That's the goal.
Crestani.
But first, I have to become a certified pilot. So this, frankly, this is my life, and this is what appeals to people on YouTube.
Right.
So we really, you know, so to get that big, we've had to really play up what the audience wants to see. And frankly, the audience, you know, the 25-year-old audience, these are people that are considering going back to school for a master's degree and spending $100,000
Right.
because they want to be able to earn more money. There aren't a lot of job opportunities that pay very well nowadays.
Sure.
And the thing is, would people rather learn from some old professor at, you know, ASU who doesn't have much success and who's driving a 1995 Subaru, or would a 25-year-old prefer to learn from somebody who's flying helicopters and making millions of dollars per year? You know, my business made $3.4 million last year, and by really getting the right message in front of the right audience for that specific traffic source for YouTube, we've been able to really scale up our own marketing efforts there.
Well, tell me this, John. You know, we're here. We have a lot of employees, but you guys have done incredible things with a very lean operation. How do you build a business? And I think a lot of entrepreneurs would like to know, right? How do you get to that scale where you're doing a few $1,000,000 annually, 5, 10 million, whatever, with just a 1 to 5 person operation? How do you do that? And what's the key to actually scaling a business like that with a limited employees?
I'd say the key to scaling a business is focusing on what you're best at. That's the first thing. Focus on what you are absolutely best at. Then secondly, I would say make as much use of other people's efforts or other people's expertise or automation tools and software tools as possible. For instance, in my, you know, what I'm best at is I'm best at overall marketing strategy. I understand, you know, what systems to use. I understand how to choose marketing agencies very well. I know what makes good marketing. So I've really focused on that. And what I've done to utilize other people's efforts is, instead of actually having internal marketers and, you know, having lots of employees that are doing marketing for me, I've just utilized a lot of affiliates and a lot of ad agencies to work for my business. So I've pushed that stuff out. There are a lot of people who are frankly better at marketing than me, whereas I am the vision guy, and I focused on the marketing strategy, and I let other people focus on the tactics and the implementation and the things that aren't the absolute best use of my time.
So basically just really focusing, honing in on what you're really good at and focusing on that, and then utilizing other people, other staff, or other resources to do the jobs that you're not as good at.
Exactly.
So kind of like almost like there's no ROI on it for you, right? So it sells, obviously, being the front man, being the cameraman, being the guy that's actually building this business. That is John Crestani, right?
Exactly.
Now, you grew this from scratch. I mean, tell me a little bit about that, right? Because you basically came out of the woodwork, and now John Crestani's got 10 million views on YouTube. So tell me about like this journey. Like, where did you start to actually do this, just to give, so entrepreneurs can get in their head like, okay, look at, I mean, I'm a new guy. I want to build a business. Is it possible to be like a John Crestani? Can I make money with John Crestani? How do I kind of replicate or look at replicating something like this?
Sure. So the first thing is, everybody's going to be different. The business I'm in is not necessarily the business other people are going to be in, because
Sure.
I'm totally comfortable in front of camera. I'm shooting training courses. I do daily YouTube videos. I constantly pump out ads. I'm very data oriented. So this business, what I'm doing suits me. Everybody's going to be different though. So that's the first thing to understand, is what I'm doing is not necessarily what, you know, you might want to do.
Right.
And the second step is, I would say, plug into a business that already has 95% of stuff set up. So for instance, if I was going to be a sales agent it doesn't make any sense for me to create, if I'm really good at sales,
Right.
okay, I'm a salesperson, I'm great, give me a phone, give me a list of, leads, preferably warm leads, and I will crush it. It doesn't make sense for that person who is great at sales or is great at networking to create their own product
Yeah, totally.
and to build their own website and to build their own marketing funnel. It makes zero sense because you're not leveraging, that's not what you're best at. If what that in this hypothetical scenario, what that person is best at is networking and sales. And what they need to find, instead of trying to reinvent the whole wheel, find a business that will pay you, that has uncapped, that has, like a commission only, basically find a business that has, uncapped commissions.
Right.
And go into that business and say, give me leads, tell me where to prospect, and I will crush it. And you can make millions of dollars per year as a salesperson.
Right.
And, you're not technically working for yourself, but you are. And people need to understand, leverage other people's systems that are already set up, that are already working.
I can tell you, just building something from scratch is incredibly difficult. So yeah, I agree with that sentiment specifically. Once you get to the level where you can actually go sell stuff, that's where you need to be. So if you're a great salesperson, obviously utilize those tools and plug into a system that's already working.
Yeah.
A lot of people say, hey, listen, I love PE, I love outdoors, right? But that's not necessarily going to make you money, not follow your passion. I don't believe in technically following your passion. Who the fuck says that? But it's not real, right? So like, how do you choose? Because how do you choose what you want to do? Like how to start a business? Like how do you have that? Like, what's that brain process?
I've heard so many people say, follow your passion. I mean, I feel like we're like, so many people of our generation have been brought up, saying, oh, follow your dreams. What do you care about? I think that's a ridiculous statement. I say, follow the money, like, yes, it's follow your passion, but also follow a passion that makes you money, because let's face it, you need money. And I will, I've never seen a sad person on a jet ski.
This is true. Jet skis are awesome.
Nobody that's ever been in a helicopter with me has had a frown on their face. So, yeah, money definitely helps, whatever you're into, whether it's extreme sports or raising a family. Now, how do you find your passion? Well, for me, I say, first of all, I say, get out there. And I'd say the first thing is, I believe everybody has an idea of kind of, they're interested in things, right? They're interested in their baby. They're interested in the outdoors. But I think it's good to keep an open mind and explore and do research. Like for me, I love traveling.
Yeah.
But so I by circumstance, by totally happen chance, I came across this book called The 4-Hour Work Week when I was traveling. And the book was about a guy who traveled the world and had an internet business to fund his travels, just running like automated without himself. And this was just for other people who are traveling, they might come across this book, but for me, that really struck a chord. So for me, it was really just, I saw somebody, I was really jealous of their success, and I'm a competitive person. So I say, okay, this is something I want. This is somebody who has what I want. How do I get there? So I don't believe there's any one way to find out what fits best, but I think it's a combination of I wouldn't have found that book if I wasn't traveling.
Right.
I think there's a mixture, but also if I kept traveling and I never stopped traveling and I stayed in countries with poor internet connections, I would have never started my internet business. So it's keeping both there's the short-term goals and the long-term goals. So I think there's a balance in between those two. That's not an exact science. It's more of an art.
Let me ask you this. So anyone can start an internet business, right? What specifically in that 4-hour work week was it that, like, what are the key components? Because that's a book that I didn't actually read, but what is it about that book that you can take a business online, or any business for that matter, that you can work 4 hours a week and actually do it? What are the key components to actually making something like that work from the book?
Sure. The first one is, I mean, it's the way the book is structured. The first one is delegating all activities that you're not good at away from you.
Boom. So you check
So
that off the list.
yeah, the net and you know, and delegating and automating as much as possible. And then the second one is really just continue, you know, delegating, automating, and eliminating the non-profitable activities from your life.
Got it.
And for me, you know, there's so many non-profitable activities from my life. I'm constantly measuring my time. For instance, I keep a spreadsheet on my computer, and whenever my business starts dipping, I use my spreadsheet, and I put my time in 15-minute increments. I diary myself every day for a week, and I'll see what activities I'm doing are not profitable, are not generating me revenues.
Yeah.
And for me, that was a big one, because I believe as marketers, as salespeople, as business development people, we constantly trick ourselves into thinking that we're setting up some, you know, long-term deals or whatever. But when we really analyze where our money is at right now and what's bringing us the money or the leads right now, it's very easy to identify where that 80% of revenues is coming from, usually 20% of time, you know,
Yeah.
or lead sources. So really getting focused on that. And it's a continual process, continually going back and focusing on where your money's coming from.
Yeah, dude,
And
that's pretty meticulous, though, that you guys do that. I mean, but I could see that totally letting you, like, oh my God, okay, I see it now. This is what happened.
yeah,
A lot of people won't do like that, though. It just seems like a lot of work, right? But ultimately, it's what's allowed you to get to the next level. So
yeah, I think, you know, if we hold ourselves to higher standards, you know, my personal opinion on this is holding ourselves to, yeah, just high standards. If you really measure yourself, you know, you can manage what you measure. And a lot of people don't like to measure themselves, but you know, measuring yourself and measuring your output is going to make you better at whatever you're doing, whether it's, you know, marketing, sales, or business development.
I love it, man. John, we have a lot of entrepreneurs that are probably listening to this, and you know, is there any good piece of advice, one single piece of advice maybe that you got along the road that you would want to pass on and give to an entrepreneur that's looking to possibly create something or possibly work with you? What's one good piece of advice that you give to our listeners?
The first thing I would say is learn from somebody who is where you want to be. Okay. If you are, and when I say learn from somebody, I mean learn or work for somebody too. If you are working for a boss which you don't respect, you need to move on from that boss, because we have one life to live. If you are learning from a boss who is, you know, who is not in an ideal, you know, position financially where you don't want to be, then you should probably move to a different company. You know, work for somebody who has what you want to have. And I think that's the first thing. The second thing is believe in yourself. I see so many people with lack of focus, changing jobs, changing businesses every 3 months.
Yeah.
And if you've got to know yourself, and you've got to believe in yourself to have success. Changing businesses or changing jobs every 3 months is going to get you nowhere. It's going to get you nowhere. I've seen people, you know, it's funny because people give a bad name to jobs, but I'm here in LA, and, you know, people get stock options and all that stuff. I've seen people lose out on tens of millions of dollars of stock options because they started doubting themselves, and they changed careers midway through to find something that more suited their passion.
Right.
So it's same thing with businesses. I see business owners that make $1 million a year, and then they say, oh, they want to shift to a totally separate business because they've got a big ego, and then they lose out on everything. And they never get to the next level.
Totally agree with that, man. That's where I'll start, right? Now, if people there's a lot of listeners that are probably like, listen, I want to go work with John, or I want to know more about what he's doing. How do they get in touch with you? What's the best way to do that?
So search my name on YouTube, John, John spelled the proper way. And my last name is Crestani, Crest like the toothpaste, and then ANI like the bird. John Crestani on YouTube, and start learning and look at some of my success stories, the students who have gone through my program that have become successful, and determine if this is something you seriously, if you want to do marketing, if you want to make money placing ads online and, have that freedom, which I have, this is a good business for you, but you really need to know, I'm only looking for students who are serious, and in it for the long term, willing to be committed, not just people who are looking.
Well, John, I'm going to be in contact with you soon, brother, because we're going to be doing our webinar stuff as well. So I'd love to get your input on that. Definitely excited about what you had, the knowledge bombs that you had to drop today. So I'm sure everybody's kind of absorbing this, and we look forward to connecting on the other side, my friend.
Awesome. Yeah, great spending time with you guys.